defenders, I think, is like.
And now we're set. Oh, we're not set if it looks like that. What are you saying, Jess? You right?
I'm good. Sorry, I'm late. I was having internet issues.
Minor.
How's it going?
I'm good, man. As I was saying to them, someone was later than me, so I had to let it be known for once. I'm normally the latest. I'll give Aubameyang a run for his money, really and truly. Right, really. Let's jump straight into it, man. What's your thoughts on the transfer market so far? It started off as optimism. It's for me when Chelsea bidded for Raphinha, it's all taking a downhill turn, and I was praising Edu. Now I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think we always had to wait until the transfer window was done before we started. We always kind of do this though. Like I feel like we do like a quick deal here, and then we're like, oh, it's great, and then we go through a period of like a month or so where we don't see anything, and we start to panic. So yeah, I mean, I think everybody's kind of waiting on the next signing. The Raphinha thing was a little bit of a shock, like in terms of how close it felt like we were to signing him, then to all of a sudden him just bam, gone. So
did you actually think it could be done?
Yeah, I was starting to get a little bit like, yeah, maybe we're here. Like I think I said on my show, like I was 60-40, like somewhere around there where it was like it looks like it could get done, like, but we have to act fast. But I always said, like, if a Barcelona or somebody jumped in, we'd be dead. And that's exactly what happened. Like they didn't even have to really jump in. They were always there and he was always waiting. So there's nothing we really can do about it. I think people are just like, so what are we doing now? Like, who's the players that we're looking at instead? And I have to be honest, like, being linked to like more young players that don't have a lot of goals in them doesn't make me like super excited. So yeah, I think we're just kind of sitting here waiting. I'm still kind of like, okay, well, if Tielemans is desperate to come, why not just go get him before we make it messy? Somebody else is going to come in for him if we wait for a long time. So yeah, I'm just kind of waiting. I think I'm still excited about Gabriel Jesus and Vieira, but we all know we need way more than that. So like, what's going on? Oh, and the Lisandro Martinez thing is so long and boring now. Like, just pick a club.
I mean, we got so much to unpack, really and truly. You mentioned Raphinha, and staying with the theme of wingers. I think you're right in the sense of, Gnabry seems like a fan-led one. Raphinha, we didn't get him, but I was quite enticed by that because they can get goals. They're better than what we have / levels with what they have. They come to kind of shake spots for positions and things. I feel when you look at the Porto, Pepe, Noah Lang, we've been linked with Edon Zigrova. I don't know if you know anything about him. He plays for Lille. But these sort of things, as you put it, like they're all development sort of players. And I'm not against it. A year from now, we could have missed a trick. But it just feels like we've already got development players. We're bringing in more without really improving players heaps and bounds. So I kind of want to ask you, if you can't get the Raphinhas, the Gnabrys, or people of that ilk, but you could get a winger, would you be open to bringing one in that's more of these sort of development stage players? Would you get a winger, or would you just leave it all where it is?
I don't know. I mean, I saw the little Eden Zagrova thing yesterday, and I just was like, no thanks.
Why'd you say no thanks? What'd you make of him?
When we were originally linked with him, because it's not the first time we've been linked with him. The first time when I looked at him, I was like, okay, like, we just don't need more of this. Like, we don't need more. Like, the thing is like, I'm not saying he's not talented and he couldn't be a decent player at Arsenal. What I'm saying is that, like, we have Amari Hutchinson coming through. We have Marquinhos already. We have Saka. We have a lot of young players that need development. I was really looking for, like you said, more experienced attackers to come in.
Someone that raised the floor, really.
Yeah, we need to raise the levels of this team, and I don't necessarily feel like a front line that consists of two 20-year-olds, and Gabriel Jesus it's better than what we had last season, but I don't think the top teams are going to be worried about that front line. I really don't. And I know that may seem harsh because we love Martinelli and Saka and we think that they're the greatest thing ever, and they're great. but they need players around them that are better. They need competition for their spot, and Arsenal need players in the team that, when we're in difficult games away from home at the Etihad and at Anfield, could
Almost every
score
away
goals.
game we play, really. You're right.
Yeah, like, it's just, we can't just always be like a home team, where we look good at home against the lower level teams. Like, we have to step up. So I guess the thing about it is, like, who's available. The market also dictates what you can do. And so I
True.
always take that into account. If Gnabry is not a real option, which I don't think he is, when you look at the market and you look at the wingers that are more experienced that could potentially come to Arsenal, what would they cost us? Would they come? I'm seeing links to Asensio, and I'm thinking,
I just see that we're always linked with him every
like,
year, man. I don't buy into that one really at all.
yeah, I'm like, I'm not sure about that one. So maybe we do end up with a younger kid, but then, what's the point? I almost then do feel like at that point, whatever money you're going to use there, throw that into midfield. We're going to need probably like at least one midfielder. So it's like,
Amen.
it'd be nice to beef up that position a little bit if we can't do a really good winger. But what I also don't want to see us do is do something silly, like I'm looking at Manchester United throwing 50 million at Anthony, and like,
You
let's
don't reckon
not.
he's worth 50 million? Would you get involved on that? Because I mean, he's Brazilian, he's a training player. You don't rate him at all.
I do think he's really good, but 50 million.
We've
Let's
done a lot
put like
worse, though.
let's just put it in perspective. Like, the winger position for me, I guess for a lot of people, is about flair. For
Yeah,
me,
goals as well.
it's about efficiency. I don't care what it looks like. I want to see the ball in the back of the net. That's why I like Bukayo a
Amen.
lot. That's why people don't. I don't think they take to Bukayo as much
Yeah,
as they
because he's not
should. It's
sexy on the
because
ball and flash in the pan skills. He puts the ball in the back of the net. Yeah, facts.
100%. And I'm just like, he got what, 7 goals or something last season in the Eredivisie. It's a really, really good league to be in for attacking players, especially when you play on the best team. For context, Cody Gakpo, somebody that people are mixed on in the Arsenal fan base, had like 15 goals and 16 assists. Without those types of returns, I'm not really understanding the 50 million price tag. I don't care how good you look on the ball. So if you're going to get somebody, get them for cheap, or don't get them at all if you can't get somebody that really raises the level. That's where I'm at.
You mentioned Cody Gakpo. Are you taking him?
I mean, at the beginning of the window, I said yes, but I think the plan is to bring in a right winger. I'm not sure it's to bring in a left, because you have Emile Smith-Rowe and Martinelli fighting on the left-hand side. You don't actually have another right winger to compete with Bukayo. So I think the idea is to get a right winger. I know that Gakpo can play on the right, but he's mostly a left winger / center forward. So I'm not quite sure that he necessarily fits. So I don't know what we're looking at. Fabrizio Romano's out there talking about, I don't know, I have to look at the name. He don't even
History
know.
player and all of that stuff. Yeah, it's all
Nobody
nonsense.
knows.
I
Nobody
mean,
knows.
with that, I might as well. Well, I have to ask the question. I don't know how you feel. Where you at with Nelson and Pepe? Then, assuming we don't sign anyone, is there a chance that they could, have an Arsenal career? Definitely, where Pepe is concerned, he did cost £72 million.
I want
I have
Pepe
to
out
ask.
of here. I want Pepe out of here.
I'm like you. I think it's done.
I saw people, like, as soon as the Raphinha thing was done, was like, Pepe is not that bad, and we could just reintegrate. No,
The bus is gone,
he's
man. It's
tempered.
gone.
Yes, he's got to go. The issue is that nobody's gonna want him. The wages are too high. So we're gonna have to loan him out and see what happens from there. But I want to see him gone. I think Reece Nelson also, it's done. They want to sell him. That's what the rumors are saying, and I think that that's the right thing to try to do with 1 year left on his deal.
True.
It's a funny one, Reece Nelson, because I think this is like a really good, like, cautionary tale for young players coming out of the academies and stuff like that. You can be like the best one. Like, Reece Nelson was playing up in, the national teams and stuff like that, like the youth ranks and stuff like that. He was like the guy that everybody put their money on to come out of the academy and be the one that was going to make the England national team and be a star at Arsenal. And look where he is. Not that he's doing terrible, but I don't think if you would have asked like 3 years ago if it would be Reece Nelson or Bukayo Saka starting on the right-hand side, I think most people would have said Reece Nelson. So I think it's just a testament to like, we don't know who's going to be the one. And like, you have to work really hard. And what is your take on Reece Nelson? Because my take on him is just more like, maybe he just didn't do what the club asked him to do. You know, he went out to Germany, didn't really, I wouldn't say he didn't take it serious, but I don't think he did as much as he could, came back and kind of got complacent. What do you think?
I think with first thing with Nelson, I just feel it's kind of what you said about the hype thing about like it's dangerous to put expectations, because I remember watching him in Germany. I was thinking, am I crazy? Because as you know, if he scores, 30-second clips are doing all the rounds on Twitter and the rest of it, but people actually not watching what he's doing. I think he struggled from confidence, like really believing in himself. I don't think in comparison to Bukayo Saka, I don't want to say intelligent, but I don't think he's great at retaining information. And as you know, once you start getting into the professional game, it doesn't matter if you score 3 goals. If your manager has said he needs you to do something and you can't do it, you're not going to play. I think the hype, I think the confidence, I think the intelligence, as I said, don't think he's been given a run. I think he's had injuries. I don't think he's ever really pulled up any trees. Like you said, he's almost kind of been forgotten about. I don't think he's, in a nice way, I think he's kind of having to forget about Arsenal, because last season, Mikel Arteta specifically told you to go out on loan. He didn't play. You can only blame yourself. Obviously, he's not been helped with injuries, and when he finally got over the injuries, he showed some quality at Feyenoord. If I could, I'd give him a new deal and loan him out, just because I think there's money to be spent. But I'm a bit like you when it comes to Pepe, Ainsley, him. It doesn't matter if it's their fault, whatever. It's like, it just needs to stop now, sort of thing. And, you know, for someone that Arteta allegedly rates very highly, and there's an open position on the right-hand side, there's been little to no talk around him. So I think he needs to go somewhere where he can settle down for a couple of years. In a nice way, people forget about all this hype, the best academy player to come out of Halen. Saying that, I'm not saying he's going to be a world beater, but I mean, I look at Smith Rowe. It took him a while, took Eddie a while. You know, the only one that kind of hit off all the time is Saka. But as you said, you know, the right wing spot, we're looking at bringing people in. Clearly, he's not convinced on Pepe, and just in general, we've got players that can play over there. You know, Fabio Vieira just walked through the door. You know, so Martinelli can play over there, like at Old Trafford. It's just the beginning of the end for Nelson. But this is where the club need to learn. Sometimes you need to know when to sell a player. You know, not everyone's going to get there. And sometimes for fans, people are just going to stagnate. But he's 22, 23. He's still got time. But he's one of them, as you know, that we need to get rid of. Where are you at in terms of outgoings? Because we haven't done anything. There's been talk of Pepe going. I thought Torreira would be one of the first out the door. Bellerin has his heart set on Betis. Apparently, Villarreal were open to matching his wages. He said no. Yeah, we haven't. If anything, it's just the young players that have been sold, which fair play, but we haven't really got any outgoings. Where are you at with the outgoings so far, and the lack of, better yet?
Well, it looks like Leno is close to leaving. Like there's some things out there about. Yeah, I'm interested to see what the fee is, because the fee originally that had been banded around of about 8 million seemed very low for Burn, even though that's what we've
even
come
with a year
to,
left. Facts.
Even though like that's what we've come, like that's what we become accustomed to over the last 2 seasons. It's kind of like last year of the deal, not, you know, just deadwood, get rid. But Bernd Leno does not represent deadwood to me. You know, he's just not, you know, he's a number 1 goalkeeper that obviously got his spot taken by Ramsdale, we all know, but he's a very good goalkeeper to somebody, you know. So
he's still a quality keeper.
Yeah, I want to see that fee, because I just still feel like for a goalkeeper of his quality, 8 million is shocking, especially when I think Manchester City just sold a goalkeeper that's never played a single game, like for Manchester City.
The Irish
that's like
lad,
17,
Southampton,
for like what, 15 million or some nonsense like that. Like,
do you think?
And he's
go on, I got you.
So yeah, it's just like we should be able to get something for Bernd Leno. Everybody else is the same old story. You know, I want to go to a specific team, so I'm not gonna leave. Like, that's Bellerin and Torreira all day long. So whatever. Those two, whatever. Ainsley's interesting because it looked like Nottingham Forest were really looking at him, but they've went in another direction with other wing backs because
Nico Williams and that. And he's on 52 grand a week, so that makes it difficult
the
to move these
wages.
players off.
So I don't know what's going to go on with Ainsley, but he's lost. He's in space. He's just floating around in the ether, and we don't know. Yeah, he's just there, and I don't anticipate him staying at Arsenal. But equally, I don't know who's going to come in and get him because essentially he has not played for a year.
Yeah,
he played very exactly. So I don't know.
Facts.
I don't know, but I mean, when you look at it, and you look at, and it's so funny that like I just looked at you and I thought, yeah, you do look like Stephen Bergwijn, because I was just about to say that like
don't be one of them. I thought you was one of the good people. Don't be one of them. Oh, don't do that.
No, but you should yeah, you should do like a picture like that and see if
never.
But what, they sold him back to Ajax for
about 30 million euros or 30 million euros. We dream of that. When was the last good deal we had? Probably what, Joe Willock?
Yeah, that was Willock. And
outgoings, I'm scratching my head at the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean, Manchester United were able to get 9 million for Pereira, and he has been
13 million if every variable's hit. Look
exactly.
at him. And where's he been?
So 100%. So that's where I'm like, okay, we could get something for these players, and Edu's got to do it. I know he's working with a decent budget, so he's been able to bring in players without having to sell. But at a certain point, I'm sure sales will come into to play. And so he's going to have to do something because we're kind of beyond the pandemic now. And there's so much money in the Premier League where he should be trying to sell people there. I know Bellerin and Torreira are difficult, but I'm looking at somebody like Ainsley. You could definitely sell him to a Premier League team for some money. That's where I'm at with that.
That's kind of where I'm at. At some point in life, it's not what you deserve, it's what you can hustle. And with respect to Edu, as I just said, Joe Willock was sold for good money. Odegaard was brought in for good money. And, credit where due for Jesus, which we're going to get onto. But I just feel, you're not the most of experience. We've got that problem where people have to want to buy these players. And I don't think any of them necessarily are bad footballers. It's just where you're going to sell them to. And then I don't know if I'm a bit sympathetic to Edu because, again, these players have to want to move. And like you said, they're on good wages. Some of them got, I'm not going to lie. If I'm Cedric or Pablo Marie, you might have international football where Cedric's worried about to be concerned, but you're in London.
Oh my God, Cedric.
Cedric's hanging. Cedric is staying.
He's hanging there. He loves it. He loves it.
He's in London. He's got contracted until 2024. The club apparently are happy with his performances. I don't know what Cedric they've seen. Ramsdale says he's almost teacher's pet. I don't know if you've seen it, but a few months ago,
Ramsdale said that.
He said that, and in his own interview, Cedric was like, "Oh, I take it upon myself to be one of the senior players." You would have thought it was Xhaka. So Cedric's not trying to go anywhere, and I can't. But can you blame these footballers because they have lives? It is their jobs, And me and you wouldn't want to earn more or less. We would all want to earn more. Sorry, but we wouldn't want to earn less money. It comes down to how you're playing. I must admit, where you listed Torreira, I thought Torreira would have been an easy one. He's in Italy, he's scoring goals, he's doing all right. That hasn't happened. Bellerin hasn't happened. Pepe's the one. I'll say out of all of them, Pepe's the one I would kind of concede because, as you said, there's many reasons as to why he's not going to get rid. But even him and Ainsley Maitland-Niles in the last 18 months, they've got new agents. So as much as I criticize Edu and the club, it's your situation. Your life is stagnating. Do you not want to move on? And I don't know what's happening. I'll give the club credit and them lot is that the season is just finished basically, and we're only into the transfer market. But it's jarring, and at some degree, the players we bring in are impacted by how we can let players go, really. And it's almost catch-22. You can't, maybe even with Tavares, maybe he hasn't gone on loan because we haven't got Lisandro Martinez or Aaron Hickey and things like that. It kind of puts me on to ask you, do you feel the board have let down Arteta? Because at times I look at January, I look at this preseason period. It's almost like he wanted these signings in early, and for one reason or another, there's no progress. So do you think he's been let down slightly then?
Yeah, I mean, I do think to a certain extent, like, when we look at things that are happening off the pitch, I do think you have to take Arteta out of that, and look at who's actually running the show. And I think that Arsenal have done they made a concerted effort to make it about Adu this summer. And I think Adu has been front and center of everything that we've been doing. So when I look at just how slow we kind of move, I would imagine that from all the reports that I've read, which could be wrong, but I don't think they are, is that from January, when we first started talking to Tielemans' agent,
I've been talking to him
he was,
forever, man. Forever.
yeah, he was Arteta's pick. You know, Arteta had concerns about the defensive and all that kind of stuff, but ultimately that's the player that he wanted.
And now we're hearing
That,
Neves was first choice, allegedly.
yeah, that player is not in an Arsenal kit ready for preseason. And so I could imagine that it's frustrating for Arteta, because I do feel like Adu is slow. I just have this weird feeling about the way that he does business is very like, you know, see what's going on over here. All right, stop. Do a little bit over here. Stop. You
Almost
know,
the problems that we inherited before he actually came to the club. Facts. You're right.
Exactly. And it's like, you know, when you look at the Jesus situation, you know, that one was very much like, you know, looking at Osimhen, looking over here, looking over there. Oh, shoot, other people are coming in. Let's try to wrap it up right here. You know, and it's like the same thing is going to happen with Tielemans. It's going to be the exact same thing. And if these are Arteta's priorities or his number one options, you got to get them in quickly, you know, and we don't need to be looking at players that are never coming. Adu is never going to sign one of these players from Italy. He is not going to do it. It's not happening. You know, he goes after one every single summer.
They
Win some
keep taking the
dream,
piss out of us in Italy, man.
and he's out there putting in bids. I don't know, putting in bids, and they never show up. They never
Just
end up
like
at Arsenal.
Vlahovic
They
and
always end
Raphinha
up at
over at
Juventus.
least.
Yeah, so I'm like, just get Arteta his people. Just get Arteta his people. But yeah, with what we have now, I do think you could start preseason or even maybe the season and feel mildly ready to go.
So would
You
you
know, I
say we're
don't
ready
see.
for the season then? Since you said that.
I'm not saying we're ready. I'm saying I don't think that we would get. I don't think it'd be Brentford 2.0. I don't think we're there. I don't think it'd be that. You know, because ultimately, on paper, you have the first 11 that you had last summer without Lacazette or
Assuming three of
whatever.
them are fit in Tierney,
Yeah,
Partey, and Tomiyasu, and nothing happens to Jesus, touch wood, pause.
exactly. So I'm thinking, basically, Adu is like, I'm gonna do the bare minimum. I'm gonna get you your striker, so we're ready to go. And now I'm gonna play around for the rest of the transfer window and see what we can do. That's kind of where we're at with that. But I mean, how do you feel about it? Do you think that Adu is kind of slowing us down, or do you think it's kind of harsh? Because you look at other teams too, like we have 2 signings through the door, like actual done. You know, Manchester United are just now kind of coming across the line with 2. Spurs are doing whatever they're doing, but like we're kind of in the mix in the same ballpark as other people.
I'm in the middle. On one hand, I give the guy luxuries because I do think there's a lot of variables. I feel plans shift. I mean, you know, players that you think are nailed on to sign for your club have a change of ideas and vice versa. But that's where I kind of stop because you need to be able to react. By all means, the gamble for Jesus paid off. We was able to leverage the fact of him knowing Arteta playing through the middle and whatnot. But if he said, forget all of that, I want to join a more competitive or Champions League club, I don't know if we would have went down the Osimhen route, like you said, or whatever we're doing. It looks like if we're led to believe we've got a free run at Tielemans, but Tielemans isn't going to be there forever. If someone else gets in, something could be said. By all means, if you want Lisandro Martinez, go and do it, but variable shift. If he goes to Man United, it is what it is. So I care about the backups. And also I give him the credit of, even though me and you could sit here and several players could leave Arsenal, several players wouldn't be in our thinking to take us to where we want to go and beyond. But these players have got to want to move. They've all got families. They've got different reasons to want to stay. Some people have different lengths of contract. I do look at, if I was Reece Nelson's agent, if I'm Ainsley Maitland-Niles, 2 young players who need to get their careers going. Pepe, 72 million pound man, can't buy a game. Just got a new agent. You've kind of got to get them to do their jobs. But at the same time, as I say with Arteta, I can give you luxuries, but it's a results-driven business. What happened? What didn't happen? You know, again, I know some people are happy about the fact that we tried for Raphinha and we tried for Vlahovic. I am as well. But did they sign? No. If I try to pass my driving test and I don't pass, I'm in trouble. So I give him that luxury, but it's a results-driven business. And for me, I think this is the summer that I wasn't expecting Eddie to do everything, but I really wanted to learn. And again, the window's not done. I wanted you to address midfield, address whatever needs to be addressed, get a good portion of these players out. Because if you can't do that, we're in trouble. Again, especially in midfield for me, whether it's Telemans, Milinkovic, Savic, I don't know how you feel about him. If we're going with the same midfield, not that these guys are bad players, but we know what happens with Partey. We know we get mixed results from Xhaka, even though I think people kind of give him a bad time. We know what we're going to get throughout the course of the season. And I must admit, the window does bewilder me a bit. When I look at Lisandro Martinez and how he talks about how he likes to learn, the fact that he likes playing different positions, the fact that, he's a left-sided centre-back. And plus, if Arteta wants him, he wants him. For me personally, though, having just spent 50 million on a centre-half with Saliba arriving, could we have spent a bit more in midfield and got Milinkovic Savic if rumours are right? Could you have spent a bit more and got Raphinha done early, no matter how much he's waiting for Barcelona and things? Could you have spent a bit more at right back or left back, areas where we know if certain players are not fit, our season goes down the toilet? And I did feel, as you said earlier, up until Raphinha dream shattered, it seemed like the club were putting Edu at the forefront. They were talking about him. Him himself was talking quite bullish about.
Because he was confident.
Exactly, he was talking. We were saying buy the new barbecue set. Like, we was loving him.
Yeah. But now he's went back into the shadows. He's like,
exactly.
Need to go back to work.
But then again, do you not give him credit though? Because not credit, but that's where I don't want to get onto him, because Fabio Vieira came out of nowhere. I know it's Fabio Vieira, but that come out of nowhere.
What I'll say is that, like, I do think that trying to piece things together, and this is just me looking at everything, all the links that have kind of come out, is that I do think that there's some interest in Milinkovic Savic. I don't think that those links have just come out of nowhere, but he's going to cost a lot. And so about him coming?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely not. But I think where does he play? Serie A.
Center mid in Serie A. Yeah, exactly like you said.
Serie A, these Serie A guys don't come. But what I'll say is that I do think that there's some interest there. And there's a big midfield signing that we probably want to do. But Tielemans is also an option that we know we can get done at a certain price. Now, Lisandro Martinez is a player that can play midfield and do all this stuff. And I think he is the quintessential Arteta player to me. And so Arteta's probably like in love with him and desperate and all this kind of stuff and wants him really bad. That's why we're going to be willing to spend almost 50 million euros on him.
Having just spent 50 on a centre-back last year.
Yeah. So if you don't get him, so if we don't get Lisandro Martinez, then what I think happens is they go and they get Grimaldo for pennies, because he's not going to cost very much.
Does he scare you, that link? Because it just seems the last Benfica left back we bought, what happened there?
Well, so basically, like, what I'll say is that I think if we don't get Lisandro Martinez, we go after Grimaldo, and then the money that we're going to use for Lisandro will go into a bigger midfielder. That's what I think. That's how I think it's going to work. But if you get Lisandro, then you get Tielemans, because that makes the most sense to me.
It's big in one area, save price in others. It's not a thing like, all right, I'm with you there.
But Grimaldo is giving Cedric for me. Like, when I watched him, I was like, is that not Cedric out there running around?
He's better than I'm giving him credit, but he's dodgy, man. I just want someone a bit like Tomiyasu, where
the report said Arsenal see him as a safe bet. That means he's Cedric. Like, that's all he wanted. Yeah. And he's there. And I know this is a lie, but Cedric is listed as 5'8" on the internet. But we know that's it. That's a lie.
Yeah. He's definitely.
Grimaldo is listed as 5'7". This man they're both 5'5", I think. And if something happened to Tierney and Tommy, you can't have the two of them. You just can't. So I think it would all just come down to whether or not the midfield signing, if we were to move the money that we're going to use for Lisandro into midfield, is that midfielder going to be somebody that really takes us up a level? I think Milinkovic Savic, I watched like 10,000 comps of that guy yesterday. And I was like, he's too good for us. Like, I just kept thinking that, like, I can't see this guy like playing for Arsenal. But it would have to be that level. It would have to be that
It would
level.
cost a pretty penny. And for me, they're saying 55 million. I would rather us spend a bit more in midfield. Like, I'm probably dreaming. I dream of a world where they get Telemans and Milinkovic-Savic. I think you need two to three
Not two
midfielders.
midfielders. You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
never
I mean,
do
I'm
two
dreaming, man. I'm
midfielders.
dreaming because we know what we're signing up for. With respect to these midfielders, if we go through them, I like Conga. I'm giving him this season, but he's still learning. I don't know what he's gonna do. We all know with
Conga.
Partey, we're waiting for him to get injured. Granit Xhaka is neither as good or bad as some of his haters or lovers make out, but we know what we're signing up for. Mohamed El Nene, good for his 4 or 5 games, nice guy, tax, all of that. When it's time to just be a good footballer and a consistent footballer, respectfully, El Nene, he's not that, is he? Like, he's not that. I don't even like dissing El Nene because I like him, but it's just we've got to be honest. So then for me, you start thinking about Partey if fit, Odegaard if /Smith Rowe if fit. Them lot in midfield are not going to get to the next level until it's addressed. Gabriel Jesus is not going to get 15, 20. Well, it's long, man. Like, I can't see it really and truly. And I genuinely, I thought a midfielder would have been here before we go off to Germany and we'll be over stateside soon in America. I genuinely thought Telemans was that sort of thing. And we was led to believe almost that, you know, we're going to get Jesus done and Raphinha done. And then we're going to Telemans as a formality. And then we'll pour all the time we have into Lissandro. But variables clearly keen to be shifted and whatnot. And obviously, you've seen Aaron Hickey go to Brentford and this Gilmando guy doesn't
I'm happy.
want confidence, huh?
I'm happy that Hickey went to Brentford.
Right, they want him.
That's his level. That's his level. You watched him play.
You're doing him dirty. You're doing him.
You
dirty.
watched him play.
No. I
watched him for Scotland, and I was like, I'm not.
Yeah, no, he got savage for Scotland. The level's high, but as a backup, I'm here for that.
One of those guys, one of those Ukrainian guys, jumped right over his head and dunked on him.
Yeah, he got dunked on savage.
I was like, I don't want none of. We got that. We got that already. We got that. We got players that get dunked on. We don't need that.
He's better than Tavares. Like, I can't lie, man. I'm a fullback anyways. I know a good fullback when I see one, and I'm just excited about having 2 flying Scotsmen down that left-hand side. This is someone that's never going to give up on Tierney.
I will also say this. I'd rather keep Tavares than bring in Cedric 2.0.
You're capping.
Grimaldo?
You're capping.
Grimaldo?
You're capping. I'm thinking a lot of guys over Tavares. Do you know what it is with Tavares? I told people from the start, and I'm rarely right, but I was right about Pepe. I told people, listen, he's only had a good 18 months. I was right about Lacazette. Listen, he's not going to score 20 league goals ever for us. I told them about Tavares. I could see that is a man who at 16 years of age, they said you're not going to be a professional footballer playing on the wings. He does not think like a defender. You know, again, he's incredibly overrated going forward. I like Tavares. You know, I'll give him another season. I personally would loan him out, try and turn that 8 million into 16. And that's what scares me about our defense, really, because we finished 5th for clean sheets, done better than United out of the top 6. We're not a good defensive side, but there's something there. There has been some improvements, but we're still buying defenders. We still haven't got street smart players. I don't feel as a football club, long before Arteta, we really respect defending. And I say that because if you're a young player, you have more of a chance of coming through as a cam or as a winger. What defenders come through apart from Tony Adams? The fullbacks that have come through are accidental. They weren't fullbacks until they became that. Ashley Cole, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Kieran Gibbs.
What about Brooke? What about Brooke? You know, he did his interview. He said that he feels like Arsenal have a plan for him. You know, could he be somebody that could he step in next season, or he needs another season out?
A lot of fans are getting excited off 6 months. You never know, players can surprise you. One thing I like about him, very good athlete, elite mentality. Back to the interview I did with him when he was about 16 years of age. Where he struggles, you could just see it for England's under-19s. Not aware of his surroundings. Gave away a penalty by having a poor touch and not aware. Going forward, he's not good enough at this moment. His short and long-range passing, playing with his head up, first touch, all of this is going to get savaged away from home, let alone in the Premier League. So I don't think he's ready. In a nice way, he's only been on loan for 6 months. And I don't think it's fair. You know, we go back to the Balogun thing. People are waffling about Balogun starting. He started, he looked out of his depth. People are crying, really. I think people really underestimate that. It's crazy. And I mean, if he could do it, you know, I would give him until he's 20 because it all adds up. He's 18. He's 19 in January next year. I think he'll be ready by 20. That's when Cedric's career at Arsenal should be done. He's contracted until
that's when he gets his extension.
Oh, don't say that, man. Don't put that into this world, man. No. Cedric knows himself. He needs to leave, man. Join the coaching staff.
Cedric loves it.
Like, I mean,
he is living his best life. Like,
I can't hate. I'd stop. Have you noticed I'm trying my best not to talk about Cedric? It's like talking about Holding and Marie and these guys. I can't help but applaud them because they know they shouldn't be there.
Somebody might buy Pablo Marie, I think.
Yeah, who? And is he going to go and stay in Italy now? Lukaku's back there now. You know, he gave Lukaku a short Chelsea career. He's busting out. He's not staying in Italy now.
He looked good in Italy. That's his speed. In a back three, Serie A.
I don't think I can say Marie's ever looked good, man. I think, I'm sure he could be a model or something.
He looked terrible in England. I saw it from day one. You know,
yeah, you're part of the minority. I tried to tell
against
people.
West Ham.
Thank you.
Antonio was eating him alive.
And Chelsea.
I was like, because his first game, I think he played with David Luiz, and we barely beat West Ham 1-0. I think Lacazette scored a goal or something like that.
Yeah, we caught life with that.
And Antonio was running him down, and I was like, this Marie guy is real sus. Like, very suspect.
He's got his comb over. He puts his hands up like that. He's shit. Like, he's mad shit. And you could see where Saka and Tierney are concerned. Like, when you play football and someone's shit, and your teammates shit, you start overcompensating. It's so funny you said West Ham. You look at Tavares away from home at West Ham. You could see Gabriel, any day of the week, there were certain passes. He gives it to Tierney. He weren't trying to play it into Tavares. Xhaka the same. And whether we rate these players or not, that starts playing on them, really. I don't understand the Marie signing because, you know, there's two examples at our club. You buy someone cheap like Tomiyasu, where that's a bargain, or you get someone like Marie, where it's expensive. You can't get rid. You might have to tear up his contract or something. You put yourself in a dangerous scenario. And even though I want the back of Pablo Marie, I can't begrudge him if he stays because he's contracted until 2024. Where is he getting these wages elsewhere? Whether he goes on loan or elsewhere. You know, I can't blame him.
Pay some of it, I guess, right?
So it's another L for some fans to cry about saved wages and proclaim that as some sort of victory. It doesn't make sense at all, really and truly. It really doesn't.
That was a part of the Raul situation. Like, him and Cedric came in during that strange period where we got two players that were so out of left field, but like Arteta was desperate to bolster the defense. And this is another reason why. So, and somebody has to tell Arteta at some point as well, like, you're not getting any more defenders. We don't need any more defenders. You've literally bought a defender every single time, like a center back, every single window. You know, and you have one of the best young center backs in the world coming into your side. You know, you can deal with. Yeah, you can deal with the three of them.
To be fair to him, though, to be fair to him, play devil's advocate. Would you say we don't need a centre back? I'm not saying it should take priority, but you just, you know, we all can agree. Gabriel, Saliba, Ben White. There's like 2 spots left. Holding probably needs to go. Probably not going to.
Well, we need one, but on the list of priorities, it's quite low when you look at the fact that we don't score enough goals and our midfield is one Thomas Partey injury away from being mid-table. You know, I think
he is when he is fit, regardless of Odegaard and Partey. Really could argue in everyone's fit.
Because I can even make a case for Tomiyasu playing in the center back position.
Him as well.
And a surviving, you know, but there's no way to survive with what we got. You know, Saka gets injured, we're finished. Gabriel Jesus gets injured, we're finished. You know, Xhaka and Thomas Partey, like, they keep us alive, but like beyond them, like, what is there? Odegaard goes missing anytime it's cloudy and it's
don't
cold
do Odegaard
and wet
like
somewhere.
That, man.
I love Odegaard, but
he's my guy, man.
Somebody needs to talk to him. Like, you know, you need to suck it up. You know, you can't be. They're about to give him the captain's armband, but when I watch him away from home at these places, I'm like, you're disappearing, man. You're Ozilling us. Like, you got to step up. You know, and he's gonna be 24 next season. You know, so the young player thing is gonna run out soon. So I have high expectations for Odegaard. You know, I just expect him to do a little bit more when we're away from home. It's not sunny.
I hear that. That's why, as much as I like him, and you know, I can't say he can't be captain of his club when he captains his country. I kind of just want the old school kind of captains that we attach to football at this moment. I think Arsenal need to go back to basics. So I think for me, it's Tierney without a doubt, Ramsdale or something, even though he's just been there. I wouldn't give it to Odegaard. If he gets it, I more want you to lead by example. Like you kind of said, you're already highly scrutinized. You're opening up for more scrutiny. Just let him be a leader. I give it about 2 months before Arsenal fans start talking about Gabriel Jesus potentially as a captain as well. We haven't even spoken about him. We got over the line now. What do you make of Gabriel Jesus now? At least that's something we got done.
Oh, I love Gabriel Jesus. Like,
You're not alone.
That's my guy. Like, I just feel like this signing makes so much sense. Like, it just does.
Almost too much sense by Arsenal fans, really, for us, really.
Yeah. I mean, we just have, like, I would just say, like, let's just let him get in, get settled, and watch him play, and you'll see the levels. Because I really do think we have a skewed idea of how close we are to the top teams. We're nowhere near them. And the players that don't even start for them all the time walk
Kind of
straight
walk in
into
our
our
team,
team.
yep.
Exactly. This guy is a top player. And he does so much better when he starts games. Those stats are out there for everybody to see. When he starts games and he's feels like more of a focal point, he does a lot better. And I think he's going to take the challenge. And I do think we have enough good players in our team to provide him with the chances. I get that there's this whole like notion of, well, City create all these chances and he doesn't, he's going to be fine. But his work rate, I think, is something that we're missing. We've missed up top because let's be real, Lacazette, nah, he was not pressing. Like Abazet, they did
Anything
not
but an
press.
athlete, man.
Yeah, so I am excited about him. Like, I really am. And I think, the interviews, you always have to take them with a grain of salt because they're always going to say what they should say. But I think he looked genuinely happy to be here. And that's a good thing. It doesn't feel like he thinks that he's taking a step down. It feels like he thinks he's taking a step forward in his career. So I'm very excited about Gabriel Jesus. I think people are going to see levels. And, if we do have to start the season or we end up with Saka, Martinelli, and Gabriel Jesus as a front line, I do think against most teams, they're gonna bop most teams. Like, I do think that, I'm excited. What do you think about the signing now that it's over the line?
I got so much to say. On one hand, I'll start with the optimism. Like, I think, like you said, it's difficult to shine at City where you're not the main guy. I think all he needs is a platform. He'll score a lot of goals. I think he's keen to prove that I'm more than just a squad player, the pressing and all of those sort of things. I'm a star in my own right. Arteta knows him. Arsenal fans, it's all set up. He's joining, he's got a World Cup to think about. I do think with a platform and, he could score 15, 20 league goals. I'm keen to see how he links up with Saka and Odegaard in particular. Where I'm a bit pessimistic is he's not a savior for us in that he can't fix everything alone. City don't just rely on one man. We do this thing at Arsenal where we did it with Ozil. We do it with everyone, Aubameyang, where we just think, they're the only saviors. I do think there's a bit of a discount. Our players are not as good or as intelligent as City. I don't think we break down low blocks well enough. And again, at City, one guy will make a run. The other guy will capitalize on the space. There's only a certain amount of players, Martinelli, Saka, Odegaard, Jesus, that I feel possess that level of intelligence, really and truly. When you look at half of his goals, they're all in the box. We need to provide him service. Now, we don't create chances. If we was a team that was creating enough chances, and I could say you get a striker, there's, we're all set up to do well. But I think there's a bit of coaching.
What are we missing? What are we missing? Why don't we create enough chances? Like, what's the missing piece there? Is it as simple as just putting in because I think a missing piece could be Tielemans.
In theory, that's half the job, man. That's half the job because I think even if we got Raphinha to go with what we've got, there's no movement. When the man in possession gets the ball, I think the lines are blurred. I think Arteta's shown that the strikers, they can press well. I think he's shown the building out from the back in midfield. In defense. Midfield is the gray area. I don't see midfielders with the ability to constantly get that ball, spin, see that somebody's made a run and just do it. You've got El Nene that will go, I see the run, I'm going backwards. Then respectfully, these are the sort of things. Or Xhaka needs a million years on the ball. I'm not even
It's
criticizing
so
them.
funny because it's so true. They're like,
Exactly.
I see it, but I don't think I can
And then
complete
what do
it.
you watch us? What do you see when you've got them pivot men that can't
Right.
do that? They're all gonna drop backwards like this. So that's a tax to apply to Jesus. I think he presses well. I think he'll score a lot of good goals on the counter. I do think, like I said in the live stream earlier, I do think I think a lot of people will get more chances and score goals because of his movement. But I just don't think he can do it alone. And I just feel there's a lot of coaching that needs to be done with Mikel Arteta. There's been money spent. Pep, it doesn't matter how much money Pep spends if he doesn't coach movement and interchanging play and things. Obviously Arteta's working on it, but it's not evident enough in enough players really. Maybe some of it's mentally. So I've got all the faith in Jesus, but there's a lot of taxes. I just feel there's an element of coaching. We should look like we're scoring goals all over the field. And I do see the building blocks with Tomiyasu being now at right back when Tierney's flying forward and all the counter-attacking moves. But I just feel there's no way around it without coaching, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know if we talked about this, but with midfielders, I just feel like we've lacked a certain type of midfielder for a long time.
I mean, a blind man could see it, 100%.
Yeah, El Neni and Xhaka to me are pattern play midfielders. Like yeah, you can tell them what they're supposed to do, but they can't think beyond that. And what I like about Tielemans and Vieira in particular is that they have creativity. They can think beyond the pattern, and that's what we need. When Gabriel Jesus, one of his biggest skills is his runs, his movement.
Play.
Exactly. And so, like you said, when he makes those runs, and Martinelli makes a lot of these runs too, but they never pass it to him
together as well. I want to see interchanging between them, swap positions. I'm really keen to see how Odegaard and Saka and Jesus go on the right hand side, and if Martinelli plays on that left hand side. But again, you're only as good as the players you've got. Same way, if you're a decent player and you go to City, you're gonna look better and play better because you're with better players. Same way, there's an Arsenal tax that needs to be applied, really. So. I don't know, man.
I think if you were to bring in somebody like a Tielemans, I do think you'd see more of that because he can think beyond the patterns. Like he's somebody that he's played with Jamie Vardy for years. Yeah. He's one of the best movement center forwards in the league.
That's a great.
You have to get him the ball on time. And I think also like Aubameyang suffered from this at Arsenal. And people know I'm not Aubameyang's biggest fan, but one thing that he missed at Arsenal, especially as the midfield progressively got worse, is when he made the runs, they wouldn't kick it to him because they couldn't think that fast.
That's a great point.
Exactly.
Look at last season. Eddie, Laka, Bamian, they all played up front, and there's times where you said it yourself, you can see them just running around for the sake of it. Maybe that's why Lacazette dropped deep into midfield, said this is the only way I'm going to get the ball. And then the opposition is just coming further into our half, and we're eliminated. Do you think he's set up to fail, Jesus? Because as much as I'm happy, I do think Arsenal fans should be excited about his sign. I do think people are underestimating him. But is he kind of set up to fail in the sense of he's not going to score 38 goals out of 38 games? The inevitable question marks are going to happen for Jesus. And he's never scored 20 league goals. He has got 14, 15 though.
I mean, I think people have to understand like Arsenal are definitely building beyond the whole idea that we're going to have one striker that's going to score 25, 30 goals. That's something of the past. Like it's going to be a collective thing. What we have to look at is, are we able to create the volume of chances that's going to allow the likes of Martinelli, Saka, and Jesus to miss a couple, but also score? That's what it is. It's because our strikers get one or two chances a game. And so they're meant to score everything that they make. And that's not how things work. They need to be able to miss chances. And so that's where I'm looking at, again, midfield. If we're going to have inverted fullbacks, our midfielders have to be really good creative players.
They cover a lot of ground and be dynamic. And, you see a lot of times, a lot of midfielders in today's day and age, they're not playing as wingers, but they pull into wide areas and start playing 1-2s. You're right. We need to overcompensate in other areas. And that's the problem with Arsenal. Obviously, I'm not so much last season. We was a bit more right-hand centric, but historically, we're a left-hand centric side. You know that if you lock down Saka, you probably stifle Martinelli. You prevent Ramsdale and everyone from getting out of their half. You've kind of defeated Arsenal before you've scored a goal. And then our players, whether it's youth or naivety, we can't react to that or try something else, really.
Yeah. And the left-hand side doesn't provide enough of a goal threat.
Exactly.
Our whole goal threat is on the right-hand side.
With
left
the
side
of Smith Rowe when he was scoring,
it's bare. So I do think Martinelli needs to do his part in finishing off his chances, but equally there needs to be a midfielder on that side that can offer him some support, because if we don't have a left fullback that people have to really look at, then you can't just have Xhaka sitting there in that left spot just chilling. So that's where I'm looking at the midfield. Like, you need to bring in two midfielders that can do it. And I think Vieira has a lot of that. You know, when you watch him play, I think they're right in terms of he's the type that's going to get in and around the box and make things happen. And that's where Odegaard also needs to step up. Like, he needs to be somebody where they're like, okay, well, is he going to shoot or is he going to pass?
He got
Because
7
right
goals
now,
last year in the league, so he can definitely. There's something in him in terms of scoring goals. He can, and you mentioned Martinelli.
and
He got 6, so they should be getting 10 and 10 minimum. You're right.
yeah, they need to step it up a little bit more. And I think they will, but there still needs to be more players to come in. So if I think the thing that's worrying me is just there's a player out there that's sitting there desperate, waiting on their chance to come to Arsenal, and we're just like waiting for some reason. And he's the puzzle piece to me that I think makes all this stuff work.
That's the
That's
thing.
kind of where I'm at.
And you're right. And we need midfielders because obviously we're in more competitions next season. There's more games. There's 5 subs. You have to apply an Arsenal tax of injuries. You know, a lot of it is about Partey. We know if Telemans does sign, there's going to be some period of the season where it's going to be Xhaka and Telemans. And we mentioned 2 midfielders, or I mentioned I'd like 2 midfielders. I'm prepared to accept just Telemans if you're really going to train Fabio Vieira to be an 8, because for me, I know there's talk he can play 10, false 9 and 8 on the wings, and I expect him to do that in the initial periods. But him, Smith Rowe, Odegaard, they need to be groomed into 8s, in my opinion. Look at City. All of them can play as 8s.
Well, I think that's why they brought in Vieira. I think Smith Rowe is going to be a winger next season, you know, because I don't really see how we're going to put them both in midfield. So maybe they'll trust Vieira, you know, with that. But like, what about Sambi? Like, I know we kind of briefly touched on it, but, you know, he didn't really get into that 6th position the way that I think people had hoped. Do you think he'll play more 8 next season? Because
No, man, you can't. You're not that. Like, obviously, if he does that, I'll be willing to be proven wrong. But for me, I'd say I think it's more of a confidence thing with Conga. There was a period in the season where he just looked short of. He was playing rubbish anyways, but he just looked short of confidence. And as you know, if you're not confident in anything, you're going to make bare mistakes. I personally, all I see from you is a 6. I think you're fairly combative. I think you've got the engine to get around the pitch. I think you've got passing ability, but it's not what I want to see as an 8. I just think it's a confidence thing, and he just has to realize that he needs to get into a certain level of headspace. If I play well, I'm not a great player. If I play bad, I'm not rubbish. And I just feel, you know how they talk about foreign players and how they, you know, there's a culture shock in the Prem. I think he really has struggled to deal with that. I think at times he's wanted one touch too many. And I obviously, as a midfielder, the best midfielders do things in less touches. So I'm kind of banking on Lokonga, 2nd season from him. I'm hoping Elneny, when he steps up, could do all right, because that's, for me, when I saw Elneny sign a new deal, I said, we're not signing the 6. A lot of fans can forget about Bissouma, who's now gone to Spurs and whatnot. We're not signing that. We've been told it's a number 8, whether it's been or someone with strengths more breaking the line, whether that was Ruben Neves, who today they said was our first choice target, Telemans, who's just been waiting there, or Fabian Ruiz, who was there, or Milinkovic-Savic. We really need that. Why I would like Milinkovic-Savic is I don't know if he'll be able, we're not getting him, but I don't know if he'll be able to do it in the league, but he got 11 and 11. Imagine you got that to go with Raphinha, who got 11 league goals, to go with what we have already. We're closer to what Arteta said in 90 to 100 goals, are we not? We're still not there yet, but we're getting there, surely.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those where I just don't understand why we can't just focus on midfield and get it done. The one midfielder thing just throws me off, because I see other teams looking at multiple midfielders and we're always like, just one. It's
And then
not
fans
enough.
start doing either or, yeah.
That's always where we see the most injuries. It's where, you know, you win and lose the game, that whole cliche. Like, there's a reason why people invest so much in midfields. You know,
Exactly.
We need to make sure that we have them. And it's just weird. Like, I don't know what Arsenal are planning, but they need to bring in 2 midfielders. Like, and I know Vieira may be considered one, but I'm looking at him like, you need to eat. You know, you need to eat. You're gonna get flattened.
Yeah.
Because that, like, even Sambi, like, I look at him sometimes, I'm just like, you got to stop running on your tippy toes, man. You got to.
That's what I mean.
You know,
it's like it's a massive culture shock.
I've
turned up here,
He's such a nice player, but he just runs on his tippy toes, and I'm like, you're gonna get killed out here.
Controls the football with his tiptoes as well. I mean, company said he's like Yaya Toure. I fucking know. I think he got some of that transfer fee based on them comments there, man.
Oh my gosh, company. Wow. Like, you may like him, but he ain't no Yaya.
What'd you make
Yaya? Huh? Yaya was running
of
through people. Sambi ain't never ran through nobody.
Oh, you're making Sambi Lokonga sound so shit. I meant to ask you.
No, I love him, but he runs on. He runs on his tippy toes.
Yeah, he does.
Like very light on his feet.
Out of everyone, I'd rather give him another chance. You know, a lot of some Arsenal fans are saying give Ainsley Maitland-Niles a chance. What'd you make of Eddie and Nketiah? What'd you make of Eddie? Because if he picks up where he left off, then Jesus might have to play out wide, or there might be an injury where Jesus feels out wide and Eddie plays.
Oh my gosh, no. Okay, I need to get my Eddie agenda away. Like,
yeah, man, leave the guy alone, man.
It's there, and I just feel bad. I do. But okay, so Eddie, I do think there's always an opportunity to change my mind. Always. Like, I'm never just gonna keep something going just because I said something originally. So I look at Eddie and I'm thinking, as long as we create chances, he'll score goals. He is a goal scorer and he's good inside the box, and he's improved a lot outside of it. And we saw that at the end of last season. I do think that, he'll play most cups. I do think he'll get more playing time than people think because Arteta really likes him. I can see scenarios where it's Gabriel Jesus, Eddie, and Saka. I can see that as well. I think we just have to give Eddie a chance. At the end of the day, yeah. And I see Eddie Nketiah is just as good as Calvert-Lewin, Ollie Watkins, Shea Adams, these guys.
I mean, is that the company you want to keep though? Shea Adams I don't even think he's better right now than Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I'll be honest, but I'd rather Eddie.
I think so. I mean, I guess the reason why I say that is just because, like, would I spend the money that it would take to get Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Ollie Watkins or whatever? No, I'd rather just keep Eddie because I don't think they're out in a different stratosphere than him. And he also has not played he hasn't played any time in the Premier League. He really hasn't. And some of those players have been in the Premier League for 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons now. So give him like a full season playing with us, getting, with a good team and stuff like that and see what happens. I think, Eddie will score as long as we give him chances. And I just want to keep an open mind because he's here and I want him to do well. Once they're still here and they got the contract, I just kind of suck it up from there. But what I will say is that Arteta's made a big call. He's really pushed for Eddie. And I think there's a lot of people still sitting there like, I don't see what Arteta really sees in him. So yeah, there's pressure on it.
You said it there. For me, it's another player that if Arteta really wants him, he wants to build a team around him, wants to utilize him, cool, because it's one less excuse for Mikel Arteta and one next thing where I'm saying, okay, cool, get the attack. I mean, one thing I like about Eddie, obviously, in this day and age, you could score 20 league goals. People say you don't create, but I don't want to say perfect because I think that's Jesus, but he's a very good to what Arteta wants and really and truly. So if that's what Arteta wants, do it. And in a nice way, I know he's going to be strikers have to be synonymous with goals. We need a striker that scores goals. But Eddie coming through the academy was little more than a poacher. One thing I like about him is his general plays improved. He's winning fouls. He's running in behind. He presses well. He can pull out to the left-hand channel. Everything that he's not scoring. Even you look at West Ham United, Manchester United, he probably should have bagged in both of them games. But he played really well without scoring. And that's one thing I like about Jesus. There'll be times where he might not necessarily score, but he impacts the game. I'm happy with that. Where I want to see more from Eddie is, like you said, there's some fans who are not like us, who you can have your opinion on him, but you let him do his thing. They're going to be out to get you. I'm happy you got a new deal. Who wouldn't want to see a young black you playing up front and whatnot? But there's expectation now. You're almost a marked man. And if I go on it, it's a bit seasonal. There's not a strong case study. We can always say you got like 6 starts or 8 starts and you got a decent amount. But reality is he played 20 plus times next season. So it's now to show us that it's not just a purple patch. You're here to stay. You're here to not make friends. You're here to help us, sort of thing for me.
Yeah. But do you believe in Arteta's footballing, like his talent ID? You know, do you
you know.
believe in it?
I do actually. Not when he brings in William and Marie and all of them sort of things, but in general, I think his talent ID, based on the names, we haven't got them in, but the names we've been linked with, buying Gabriel Jesus last season. I saw why you bought Ben White, jury's still out. I see why Ramsdale arrived. I see not just from the obvious of needing a right back, I see what Tomiyasu brings when he's out of possession. So I do think his talent ID as well. I don't know. It's just there's almost like there's something missing, really and truly. I think he has identified good talent, but I just want to see us get a bit more. And especially if we're doing this youngster thing, then on the best of days, you've seen Son, Kane, Ronaldo, Salah all face scrutiny at times last season, even when Salah had 20 league goals. We can't expect one single player at this football club right now to do it for 38 games. And as you saw last season, there was times where other players stepped up at moments. There was a time where Smith Rowe was the guy, Odegaard weren't. Then Odegaard became the guy. And there was times where Martinelli came in. As much as I don't think we can move that forward with, I don't want to say El Nene, but El Nene, Holding, Cedric, Tavares, there was all times they stepped up last season and done all right. It's a squad game. And as we keep saying, there's 5 subs. We're in many comps. We can't keep relying on Saka. How much better would Saka and these guys play if we could rest them properly and revitalize them and let them go rather than we're just playing them until they break their legs, essentially? It'd be so much better.
For sure. And I think, like, for me, with, like, especially specifically with Eddie, I know people are going to look at it and be like, oh my gosh, she's crazy. But one of the players that he mostly, like, looks like, especially statistically, in the way that he plays, is Diego Jota. And I know people are probably like,
you're crazy as well. Ooh,
no, hold on. So they're very similar. If you look at their stats and the way that they play and what they contribute, Diego Jota is not very technical.
Nah, he's
not a great dribbler, but what he is what is he? He's a goal scorer, poacher.
He scores a lot of headers. And makes a difference.
Yeah, and he can play all across pretty much the front three. And Liverpool fans complain about, he's not as good as Firmino in terms of technical ability, but he comes off of the bench and makes things happen.
Amen.
And so for me, I feel like he may not be as good as Diego Jota now or whatever. Diego Jota is also 23, 24 or something like that.
24, 25, mid-20s.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is that, like, if he could have similar impact like that for Arsenal, that's what I'm looking for from him. He doesn't have to be the most technical. He doesn't have to be, flashy or anything. When you come on, make an impact and score a goal. There's nothing that Diego Jota does that I think is so out of the realm of what Eddie can do, because they're both just goal scorers that are punchy and pressy and difficult to deal with, and people don't like playing against them. They don't like it. And from what I've seen, people don't like playing against Eddie. He's not fun to play against. So, not saying he is Diego Jota. I'm just saying statistically, in the way that he plays, they're quite similar. So if he can do something like that, why not? That'd be good for me.
I mean, I'm with you in the sense of I don't know that Eddie and Jesus are going to score. I think if Eddie plays a lot, you could get double figures in the Prem. Jesus, I definitely think you can get 15, 20 because you're going to play a lot. But if we take away the goal scoring aspect as much as we can, I think they fit the system well. As you said, they're terrors. Arteta wants to use them. I feel they've both got points to prove, specifically with Eddie. I don't think he's the sort to, and it's funny because football makes this happen, but I don't think he's going to get a deal and cash out. I think Eddie's very self-aware. I think he didn't sleep on himself when people weren't saying you're good enough. I don't think he's going to believe his own hype. And if he is, things are going to change very soon, because the same people that waffled about Aubameyang signing a new deal, the minute he stopped scoring, why did he get a new deal? You know how football is set. So I don't think he's under any illusions. You've got a question, though. Jess, do you rate/believe in Arteta's talent ID?
I do. I think the players that he picks out make a lot of sense. I think Arteta knows who's talented and who's not. I think some of the interventions that he's made in terms of transfers have shown that. I don't care what happened last season. It was good that we had Tomiyasu and we didn't get Emerson Royale.
Yeah, amen.
Amen. And that was his intervention. Exactly. Edu wanted to bring in Neto from Barcelona. We got Ramsdale instead. Exactly. I mean, that's just kind of, I think he does know who's talented and who's not. I think the thing with Arteta for me is can he coach up? That's what it is for me, is I just want to see more improvements from our players. I just feel like I'm not seeing enough. You saw Eddie Howe take,
Joe
that
Linton made him into a
Newcastle
world beater.
team. Exactly. Moved him into a different position, and he got tons of confidence from that. Blah,
Klopp
blah,
with
blah, blah,
Henderson as
blah.
well.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
examples still.
With our players, I'm kind of like, I'm not seeing the same levels of coaching up that I feel like I should, especially because that's what he's known for. That's why we have him, right? Especially with the wingers.
Yeah. There's
That's
plenty
what I
of
want to see
stories.
more of. So yeah, that's where I am. But talent ID, yeah. I think
you
he
made
knows.
a great point there, with playing players. And that's kind of what I alluded to in my video yesterday, in the sense of, you stop telling me about player strengths. I need to know their weaknesses to how they go to the next level. Like, we know where Jesus is concerned. Evidently, the one cloud is, can he score goals? Make it so that's not a question, sort of thing. Again, I have confidence in Arteta, because people can't say he can't improve players if Smith Rowe and Saka, not that there's a long list, but this is their first season or last season of significant numbers. So it's all about taking them to the next level. I can't expect him to develop everyone. Obviously, extreme cases like Conga, and not for me really, because I think we should just nip it in the bud. But Tavares, you've got to show you can make these players competent. You look at, I said Klopp, Henderson was probably one of the first players that people wanted out the door at Liverpool. Now he's one of the most important players. And has he necessarily improved technically? Probably, but they've just enhanced to what he's done. I think at Arsenal, we take squad players and then rely on them to make the difference. And then we don't really delegate well. And that's why I think we find ourselves in the position we did and whatnot. So I don't know, man. I mean, how confident are you that we'll be sitting here in September? We've done all the business we need to do. We might not be perfect, but let's just say, you know what, centre mid and centre mid and fullback. Do you think those areas will be improved?
Like when the window closes?
Yeah. Windows shut, things are done.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we'll have business done. Will it be the players that we necessarily want? I'm not sure. I think Tielemans will get done. I think we'll wait
I hope so
until other teams get interested, and then we'll start, doing that thing. But I do think Tielemans will get done. Now, in terms of left back, if we bring Cedric 2.0, I'm not going to be happy. I can tell you right now, he's Cedric. Anybody can look at those comps and I see the same player, so if we do that and then all we do is get Tielemans, then I'm going to ask where the money is, because it's in his pocket or something, because he's not spending it. Where's the 50 million that you were about to spend on Raphinha? What happened?
Yeah. What happened to the bees? Or the money that was there for Vlahovic at a point? It's like money always comes out the wilderness, really and truly, and then it goes, and we always hear the war chest stuff. My last question for you would be, because of this, shout out Jamrock TV, because this actually made me think. Do you think, obviously, we're probably not going to sign a striker, but do we lack height up front? Because that could be an outlet, especially away from home. We're in trouble.
We lack height all over the pitch.
Yeah.
We are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's reminding me it reminds me of the beginning of Wenger, like in 2008, like not the beginning of him, but when he started to really build his own team. Because I do think people forget that he inherited a really good team. He made it a little bit better. And then when we moved to the Emirates, he did his own thing. And we became really small, really technical. And it was kind of like that thing where we controlled almost every single game, but when we had to play against the better teams, we were eliminated. And that still happens. And I think that's kind of the direction that we might be going in again. Now, I don't have an issue with us, being smaller, but those technical players have to be the best, and I don't think we necessarily have that.
Consistent.
Yeah, and I'm looking at, do we have that outlet? I do think we need a plan B, but I also think we need to perfect plan A first. Plan A is something that we kind of been working on for like 2 seasons now. And so I don't think a target man striker was ever a part of plan A. So we're going to go with Gabriel Jesus, and we're going to go with the fluid, technical, pressing front three. and try to possess the game and things like that. And we probably still will have a hole in the squad, and we'll probably still struggle in certain games against big physical teams. But there'll be less of that because we'll control more games. We'll probably be able to put games away a lot quicker because we will have perfected plan A a lot more. But there will be that gap. There will be that player that we're looking at and being like, away from home at Anfield, it would be nice to have that player. We probably won't have it. But there's still going to be other transfer windows where we can get that done. But we're not going to get everything done in one. But I'd rather perfect the first plan than get plan B and not have anything secure. That's where I'm at with that. Especially with the big strikers that are on the market right now. They're really expensive, and I'm not sure that they're that amazing. So,
I mean, you said it there. The striker market is quite poor. I mean, not to get at Jesus, but Jesus is prayed for everything but goals. Chelsea were willing to commit 100 million for Lukaku. There's, if you've got a half decent striker, it's gonna cost an arm and a leg. And I'm happy with Jesus because Lord knows what we'd be sitting about and talking about if it wasn't. We'd still be hopelessly trying for Tammy or Rossman with Napoli, difficult to deal business. Like you said, I'm happy if that's the case. If we look like if you can see the system, we're well-engined unit, and then you can see in little bits and pieces we're not quite there, then fair enough. This is what year 2 of this sort of project thing. Would you take Douglas Luiz to humor this question of Aston Villa?
Yeah, I would. If we had I saw somebody else said Marino as well. I think he's a good player, but I'm not really sure about the La Liga thing. But having somebody in league, that's probably not gonna his spot at Aston Villa is probably under threat.
He looks like he might even be going to AC Milan, really, based on latest reports. Good move for him, really.
Yeah, so I know we're kind of linked, kind of not, but it would be nice to have another number 6 or somebody that's just like a nailed on 6 in the team. If we went out there and we spent 50 million on Tielemans and Douglas Luiz, I think that'd be 50 million well spent.
I couldn't blame with that. That. Where are you at with Project Martinelli through the middle now? Obviously, and actually Balogun's future, because now it's all Jesus who's arrived at the club.
Yeah.
Obviously, Nketiah signed a new deal.
Balogun, that game that he played, I think against Sunderland, I think that was when it was. Yeah, that was I was like, oh my gosh, he's not ready. So I'm happy for him to go back out on loan, and I think he's doing well. He did well in his last loan, and he should go out on loan again. Very talented player that I think is going to be just fine, but he just wasn't ready, which makes a lot of sense. In terms of Martinelli through the middle, I think there's a reason why Arteta hasn't tried it. I think there's a reason.
He talks him up in that role, though. And it's interesting because Martinelli talks about I prefer the left. Mikel Arteta speaks about through the middle. It's an interesting one, really. It's hard.
I mean, I think maybe his future there is maybe later on in his career. But right now, I love him on the wing. I think we don't have anybody like that. Martinelli does something different than what Saka does, but they complement each other really well.
Really well.
And I love the way Martinelli plays on the wing. I don't want to move him and play him through the center. I don't want his ankles kicked. I don't want him, getting knocked around by the center backs. I like him 1v1 against wingers or fullbacks that he can go up against. I like that. I think that's his best. That's the best case scenario for him right now. So I wouldn't move him. I don't feel like there's any reason to.
So if the Prem starts today, what's your front three?
Martinelli, Jesus, Saka.
Fair enough.
Who else is gonna choose? I feel like
I wish we could name 12 players. Really, I don't like Smith Rowe on the bench. He plays every week for me, but so does Martin Odegaard, and so does the three you said. So is headache.
A lot of people are forgetting about Emil, and I feel bad about that. Man. Yeah, he's such a good player, and I just think it's because his position is not defined. So it's difficult and he can't stay fit. But every time I watch him play, I do think oh, okay, he could be somewhere in interior, but he's just he needs to eat too.
Have you noticed that's a theme of what you've been saying throughout this whole thing? Well, you make Arteta sound malnourished. He needs to eat. He needs to toughen up. He needs to this. So we're not. You're right though, because we're not the most physically imposing team. And if you're not going to do that, at least be on another level technically. When you're mediocre technically and physically, you're in a bad position.
Well, somebody showed like the clips of him against Brentford last season on the first game of the season.
Saw that.
And I was like, yeah, I see that. But that was probably when he was like at the peak of his fitness, because we had just come back from preseason, and and then once he caught COVID that one time, he just never really recovered from it.
So the team, yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing him in midfield again, but it can't be with Odegaard. That's it for me. It can't be with Odegaard.
I think away from home, it don't bang, man. It don't bang. We've tried it away from home. We've tried it at the Emirates. We tried it. We had the cheek to try it against Brighton. I think if we get to a certain level where we dominate sides and we're quality in other areas, by all means, and that's what I was saying earlier. I like that Mikel Arteta, wanted to play Conga as a lone six and them two on either side as eights. I just don't feel collectively, individually, we're at that level. I still think they need to learn the basics of their positions and define who they are as footballers before you start doing all that city stuff. You need to, before you go to university or college, you need to make sure you can write your name and things like that. That's kind of where we're at. We're at the real elementary level, I feel, and we can't jump the steps really, or we're in trouble.
No, yeah, exactly. And like you just see other players when they come through, we just have too many young players trying to play together. They have to focus on themselves. Ideally, if you wanted to play Emile Smith-Rowe in midfield, you'd want him next to somebody that can do their job, but also help him as well. And we just don't have that. Everybody's kind of fending for themselves. So yeah, it depends. Like if we did have Partey and Tielemans, then I would feel comfortable having Emile Smith-Rowe in midfield with them, not with Odegaard. I don't know why. Odegaard is just like, he's doing his own thing, trying to survive, and Emile's
they're both
just like,
soft. That's why it's a problem. Like they want to do this football thing, and then if it's a physically imposing thing, it's long, and then
they won't even pass to each other.
When
they're in midfield together, they don't even pass to each other. I'm like, it's like they're on a separate world to each other. Like, I'm like, is there beef? Like, no, I'm just making that up. But
people take that too serious. Someone said no. Mikel said he's a winger, just like I dispelled the Iwobi comment. Literally, you can just read an article. Mikel Arteta reveals Martinelli's best position. The man himself said Aubameyang, obviously at the time, and Martinelli are centre forwards. But with the squad balance we have at the moment to play on those positions on the left, we don't have 5 players. So what does that tell you? The man's a centre forward. He literally said it. So it takes me back to what I was saying in that, for all means, I want Martinelli. I think and I remember when fans tried to fight me about me saying he can play on the right-hand side. Lo and behold, he excelled against Man United away from home on the right. He's a player that should be able to play across the front three. It doesn't matter, but I'm just saying it's interesting how Martinelli
is a forward. He can play anywhere.
He's hungry for everything. I mean, look at Jesus. He can play out wide. He can play through the middle. I mean, you've got to be able to do that, especially in them positions. So I'm not worried, man. As long as we've got multifunctional players who are actually good, then who cares? I don't know if Vieira's not a winger for me. He's a wide playmaker. I like my wingers, like what Jess said at the beginning, taking people on, not hugging the touchline, but they're an evident threat. I don't want these players that are going to go inside.
Well, that's why Raphinha was so exciting, is because we don't have somebody like that. Like Saka does that a little bit, but he still needs some more work on, like, I think his one-on-ones, especially against like the best in the league. I think he can get past most fullbacks, but when it comes to like the really, really good ones, I think he struggles. Raphinha is a 1v1 type of player. He takes them on all the time. But you look at somebody like a Vieira or like an Asensio, he's not going to take people on one-on-one. He looks more like a midfielder to me. We don't need that. We need a dual monster type person. So that's why I like Martinelli, is because he's just direct. I know it's not pretty all the time, but that guy just tries to go past his man, and that's what we need.
That's what I've got all the time for Martinelli. He's hungry. It's from the moment he signed for this club, he's never been scared. And I like that, he understands that there's things in life to be scared of, not a game of flipping football. So I've got all the time for Martinelli. As you said, he's definitely not the cleanest of individuals or Arsenal players when it comes to their flashiness. In fact, it's quite scrappy, but he's got that hunger and hopefully it can serve us. What content you got coming later, Jess? Make sure you follow him.
You guys, I'm back. Today I had like a little break, and so after I get off here, I'm going to do a show in about an hour, going over the latest news or whatever. So
Make
yeah,
sure you hit that follow button. I
6:30
am
p.m.
subscribed, it's just not signed in. So yeah.
Yeah, right. Make sure
And then
you're not subscribed.
I'm not signed in. I'm on incog. I'm subscribed to you. This is just on incognito mode. Or I would be, or you'd see it,
Okay.
obviously. Try to catch me out there. I support everybody.
All
I'm not a
right.
hater.
All
But yeah,
right.
people,
Yeah, that's what I got going on.
taking her content, man. Look, obviously she's got some. I mean, she's great at her job. Oh, what's going on there?
I mean, people.
Almost fucked up your job there. But as I was trying to show, look, she's got James from AFTV. I watched what is his name, Laurie or something, Lowy or so. I watched that interview. There he is, my man. This guy here. I don't know what he does, but I think he's a journalist or something. That was quite a good interview.
I wish I would have gotten him on like later, so now I could be like, is Grimaldo crop? You know,
you should have,
because we weren't linked to him yet, and so yeah, I'm probably gonna DM him and say, tell me the truth, please.
Exactly.
Like, I need to know.
Now we
need to know.
You need to get that information for us immediately. But yeah, you can see
sure.
it there. Get her to 20,000 plus. She's on 10,000. Deserves to be on a lot more. Subscribe. Obviously, when this is on YouTube, all her stuff will be in the description, and you actually are at her in the title. All you need to do is hit her account and subscribe. And yeah, just appreciated talking Arsenal with me. Obviously, we've got our show going. You lot stay posted when the next one comes out. It'll be on her platform. Don't worry about that. Just make sure you're subscribed. You don't miss a beat. In relation to content, I'm doing a Love Island watch along. Tell them again what you're doing just in case they missed it.
You guys, in an hour, I'll be doing a daily download, all of the transfer news, go through it, panic together, so come join.
There you have it, people. And for now, it's been fantastic with you lot. Shout out Twitch because I've hung around like a bad smell today. I'll be back to watch Love Island with you lot and watch Andrew move like a pussy hole. But yeah, I'm out, man. We're out. Peace.
Because you always use that active red light defending. I think it's like